Yeah.
Every day I got some fly shit on,
Yeah.
keeping on black outfit on. I already bagged most of the chicks that you out here trying to.
Hey guys, Pixel Precision here, bringing you a comprehensive combat guide for the Final Fantasy XV Platinum demo. I'm still seeing a lot of people out there who feel the entire combat system is just about holding down two different buttons. Now I'll admit, you can play it that way if you want, but if you do, you'll be missing out on a whole lot. So for those of you who feel that way, or those of you just looking for a tutorial, allow me to show you just some of the things you can do. The first thing you'll need to know is how to target your enemy. Simply turn the camera in the direction of your enemy and a target reticle will appear over them. This is the soft lock. Pressing R3 will toggle a hard lock on your currently targeted enemy, while holding L1 or the left shoulder button will also do a hard lock that will only stay in effect for as long as you hold down the button. Moving the right stick left or right while hard lock will allow you to change targets. Now that you know how to target enemies, let's move on to defensive abilities. Tapping the defend button, square, or X if you're on Xbox will allow you to roll dodge. This will allow you to evade while creating distance or can be used to reposition yourself during combat. Holding the defend button will allow you to automatically defend yourself. This will consume MP. Not all attacks can be automatically defended against, such as the Iron Giant's grab or his magic ability that pulls you towards him. His ground smash can be automatically evaded but requires you to be standing close to where his fist impacts the ground. If you're too far away, you'll avoid the fist but you'll still be hit by the shockwave. If you try to defend, as your enemy's attack is about to connect, you can evade the attack without losing MP. If you equip the Hero Shield, these rules still apply. However, the Hero Shield has the added benefit of being able to stagger an enemy if you defend as you're about to get hit. This will also not consume MP. When using the Air Step Sword on the ground, holding the analog stick away from the enemy while attacking will allow you to strike while flipping backwards. This move has invincibility frames and can be used to avoid any attack. The invincibility, however, will only last until the animation completes. So, if you use this to avoid the Iron Giant's magical attack, you will usually be hit after the animation completes. To avoid this, you can cue a warp attack before the flip animation finishes and warp out of harm's way. If you're performing a combo and using this move as your primary means of evasion, note that if the camera repositions itself or the enemy shifts its position, you may end up sidestepping instead of flipping and end up taking damage. Hard locking the enemy will help a bit when it comes to enemy movement, and it will reduce the camera movement as well, but issues can still pop up. Dodging, or I suppose air stepping, while airborne with the Air Step Sword does not provide you with invincibility frames, so you'll need to be outside the enemy's attack line in order to avoid damage. If you're struck while airborne, you can quickly recover and continue attacking by holding the left stick towards the enemy and using the attack button. It's also possible to perform a tech roll before hitting the ground. Simply hit the defend button before you make contact with the ground and you'll skip the knockdown animation. The window for this is quite small and may take a bit of practice. Oh, and that looks pretty painful. This same technique can be used to avoid taking fall damage from any height, so you can save Noctis from having that happen to him. At various times, an enemy will attempt a powerful attack that will be accompanied by a large defend prompt that appears in the center of your screen. If you follow the prompt and hit the defend button, this will lead to a QuickTime event that will then involve you hitting the attack button to counter. The broadsword will give you the option to parry before countering. You can simply hold the attack button after defending to complete the parry and counter. Now let's shift our focus over to offensive abilities. Holding down the attack button will automatically attack an enemy, usually the one closest to you or the one you're locked onto. If the enemy is not close by, you will automatically run to them. While holding down the attack button, Noctis will perform a basic combo with his currently equipped weapon. Weapon switching can be done at any time and even done mid-combo. In certain situations, you may have to wait for an attack animation to complete before being able to use the next weapon. Moving the left stick in different directions as you attack will allow you to change the type of attack. For example, with the broadsword equipped, moving the left stick away from the enemy allows you to perform the powerful Tempest attack. Note that doing these types of attacks will sometimes break your combo and require you to push the attack button again, assuming you've just been holding down the button. While attacking with the air step sword, if you hold the left stick left, right, or away from the enemy while attacking, you'll perform a sidestep or a backflip. If you continue to hold down the left stick and the attack button, your second attack will cause you to jump into the air and you will then continue with an aerial combo. After 3 hits, you will need to air step again to stay in the air. Each time you air step, mana will be consumed. When using the cross shuriken, directional inputs will not change the type of attack, but while in the air, this can be used to dodge. Also note that all attacks from the cross shuriken do use up MP. When attacking, if you do a single attack instead of holding down the attack button, a button prompt will appear as you return to a neutral position. If you hit the attack button when prompted, you will perform a, let's call it, heavy attack. If you switch weapons during the attack animation, you can immediately use the heavy attack of the newly selected weapon. So you could go from a quick attack with the air step sword to a heavy attack with the broadsword and vice versa. Note that this does not work when switching to the cross shuriken, but it does work when switching from it. The heavy attack of the broadsword is special in that it can be charged for a stronger attack and makes you able to take some hits without being knocked down. Heavy attacks such as two-handed swings and ground smashes from the Iron Giant will sometimes knock you down. This move cannot protect you from the Iron Giant's magical attack. Now let's talk about warping. Warp attacks, warp strikes, and point warps can be executed by hitting the triangle or Y button. A standard warp attack or warp strike can be executed with any weapon and uses MP. Warping with magic equipped uses less MP but seems to give you less invincibility frames. Holding down the warp button will perform a warp strike against the targeted enemy. Tapping the warp button will allow you to do a standard warp attack. This can be used as not only an offensive move but as a defensive move, as it allows you to cover decent ground while giving you invincibility frames. When you are hard locked onto an enemy, tapping the warp button will make you attempt a warp strike attack. In regards to the hero shield and broadsword, this can become a major issue if you're not paying attention. When out of warp strike range with these weapons, you'll just stand around and consume MP. You won't even do a standard warp, so if you happen to spam the warp button or hold it down, you can easily burn through all your MP. Point warps can only be done with the air step sword and cross shuriken. The air step sword and cross shuriken are also capable of staggering the Iron Giant, whereas the other weapons cannot. Staggering an enemy also allows you to do more damage with all your attacks. The cross shuriken can be used to stagger an enemy from any distance within its warp strike range. It also has a 1x damage modifier, which, as you can imagine, is quite useless. The same modifier also appears when executing a warp strike with the broadsword or hero shield. Now, the air step sword can be used at much longer ranges, and the farther away you are, the higher your damage modifier. However, it requires you to be a certain distance from the enemy before its stagger effect will trigger. This minimum stagger range is located at about the same distance of what would be considered the maximum warp strike range of your other weapons. Warp striking the Iron Giant from the top of the Citadel with the air step sword can potentially get you a 7x or higher damage modifier. Something I've noticed, and I'm not quite sure if it's a bug, but the damage modifier only seems to apply to the initial strike from the weapon. After that, your attacks seem to fall in the same damage range as they would when the enemy is normally staggered by a warp strike. However, if you use the fire spell during this time, you'll find that the damage modifier actually applies and you'll do much more damage. You can use this to kill the Iron Giant in 3 hits. Speaking of fire, let's move on to casting spells. When casting spells, you can hold the attack button to free aim and manually decide the location in which to cast your spell. If you hold the L1 or left shoulder button, you can quickly hard lock an enemy, and if you tap the attack button, you'll cast your spell immediately on the enemy's current location. This saves us a lot of time over manually aiming, but if you're facing nimble targets, you may want to wait until they stop moving before casting. Something else I've noticed is that when casting fire against the Iron Giant, it seems that repeated casts will do more and more damage. I'm not sure if this is just a bug or what's actually intended. Last but certainly not least is Armiger. Armiger can be manually toggled on and off by holding both the L1 and R1 buttons or both shoulder buttons at the same time. Armiger cannot be triggered while in the air, and you must be on the ground to activate it. Hopefully this will be changed before launch. It also can't be triggered while you're being damaged. In the bottom left of the screen, you may have noticed a ring surrounding your currently equipped arms. This ring shows how much energy you have for Armiger. You'll notice it has 4 notches, one at the 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position. Before you can activate Armiger, the gauge must be filled to the first notch at the 3 o'clock position. As you get to the other notches, Armiger becomes stronger and of course lasts longer. The gauge can be filled by successfully striking an enemy or defending against an enemy attack. Magic attacks do not fill the Armiger gauge. Blocking an attack fills the gauge much faster than evading. All of your melee-based attacks seem to fill the gauge rather slowly, while the cross shuriken seems to fill the gauge absurdly fast. A weapon switching combination of cross shuriken attacks mixed with shield blocks is the fastest way to fill the gauge. When using Armiger, you cannot use magic, and moving the left stick in different directions will not change the combo that is performed. While Armiger is active, you cannot be grabbed, staggered, or knocked down. However, if you're hit, you'll still take full damage, so don't assume you're in God mode just because you have phantom weapons floating around you. Now, I think that covers everything I know combat-wise about this demo. But if you know something helpful that I didn't mention, please mention it in the comment section below. I hope this video helped you guys out, and if it did, please click that like button, as it certainly helps me. Once again, this is Pixel Precision, and thanks for watching.